Thank you all. In the absence of further nominations, I formally declare Roger Evans as Chair of the London Assembly for the period up until the next annual meeting of the Assembly.
Thank you. And can I thank you, Mr. Jacobs, for conducting the election for Chair this year. And can I thank colleagues for proposing me and placing this trust in me, and for some of the very nice things that people have said about me during that debate. I asked Dick and Andrew to propose and second me because they're the people around the table who have known me for the longest. And coincidentally, they happen to be leader and deputy leader of the group, but that is an entire coincidence. The person who's known me for the third longest, I think, is John Biggs. And I know John would have some very interesting things to say about our time together when we were studying law at the University of Westminster. And it's great to work with such a clever bunch of people who have such good personal taste. And I'm really pleased that the guys chose to plug my book again. It needs all the plugging it can get, and the good news, although you haven't read it, is that under my desk there is a box, and they're available for I think a mere £10 each to you guys. I would offer to sign them for you, but you may be better not having them signed, because I think it's one of those books of which there are more signed copies than unsigned ones in circulation. So they're there, and the offer is. I'm also very grateful, Andrew, for you mentioning my gym membership. One of the people who was going to turn up and observe this meeting this morning was my personal trainer. But the good news for you is that she isn't here yet, so she's missed the comments that you made about the results of her efforts. I've been here from the beginning, and I've been in London for almost 30 years. And I remember 30 years ago we had a huge battle going on between Conservative and Labour politicians, between Margaret Thatcher and Ken Livingstone. It was a time at which there were very strong views held on all sides. You couldn't say, as people say so often on the doorstep now, oh, you're all the same, because people self-evidently weren't. And that battle over those years has cast a very long shadow in London politics, which I think still hangs over us to this day. 14 years after the abolition of the GLC, we had the constitution of the GLA at Romney House. And I can remember Ken Livingstone doing his first speech there, and the words he started his speech with were, as I was saying 14 years ago before I was so rudely interrupted. And that was the restart to the London government road that we've been on ever since then. At the time, the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats decided to deprive the Conservative group of chairs of committees and of the Assembly because they felt, I think, that we were not committed to London government. And I hope that's something that we've put to rest in the time since then. I have to say, we thought it was a bit unfair, those of us who were here at the time. Tony and I will remember it. So 4 years later, when Ken Livingstone rejoined the Labour Party, we took no hesitation in repeating the unfairness and depriving the Labour Party of the roles. Then the boot was on the other foot again in 2008, and we got a kicking from the Labour Party, and we were deprived of the roles. So what is happening today is something that hasn't happened before. It's something unique in that you've elected a chairman who is from the same political party as the mayor. And I appreciate that to do something different takes a great deal of faith and a great deal of courage from people. So I'd like to thank every one of you for the faith that you have exhibited in me today. I've given 14 years of my life to this organisation, and I think something that I have relearned every single week since I've been here is that big London-wide organisations like Transport for London and the Metropolitan Police, and yes, indeed, the Mayor's Office upstairs as well, they need robust, well-informed, fearless scrutiny of what they're doing. That's what this Assembly provides, and that is what, it is my absolute determination that we will continue to provide that in the coming year. I also feel that we need to do work on promoting ourselves and our role and what the Assembly does outside here. I referred in my brief vote of thanks to Darren to the fact that all too many people up the river in Parliament seem to be ill-informed, ignorant even, about what this Assembly does and about the value that we add in London. And I think that's astonishing, given they're the people who actually created the Assembly and voted for us to have our powers and debated those powers and amended them and came to the conclusion that they did. But we still see that all too often from them. And far too many Londoners don't know what we do either. I love my job. I love talking about it. And I want to get out around London as much as possible, talk to groups about what we do here. And I'm going to rely on every one of you to help me to do that, because you're the people who know who needs talking to in your community. So please do come and invite me to visit you. I know you will give me a courteous reception. And please do also hold me to my promise to try to preside over a strong scrutiny body. I know every one of you will want to help me to do my very best with that. On a slightly lighter note, well, maybe not a lighter note for me, but a lighter note for other people. In June, I am celebrating, if that's the correct word, my 50th birthday. 4 days after Boris Johnson celebrates his. So we started at a similar amount of time and found ourselves in the same place, but we got here by very different routes. 27 years ago, I got off the train at King's Cross with a small suitcase and big hopes. And there's nothing unusual about that. I'm not claiming any sort of uniqueness for that, because every week in London, hundreds of people get off the train at railway stations or off the plane at Heathrow with exactly those sort of hopes and ambitions. And they come from all over the UK, they come from all over the world. And they come here because London is a city which gives them opportunities. It's a city of dreams. And that is something which I feel incredibly privileged to be part of the governance of. I look forward to working with you all in the coming year.
Really excellent. Well done. Really, really good.
Oh,
Great. Fantastic.
right. And now I shall preside over my first election, that of the Deputy Chair of the Assembly.